What is the difference between hypothesis and a theory? When one thinks of a hypothesis, one can use a hypothetical case that may not be real or exist. One could always use the hypothesis in order to help solve a problem. For an example, when you want to measure the velocity of a photon, for an example, or a wave packet, it is impossible for us, since we are material subjects or material beings, when you make a measurement on a wave packet or a photon, you interfere with it. In order to measure velocity, one would have to have two positions, a position x1 and a position x2. You have to have also two times, a time t1 and a time t2, in order to come up with velocity. So if a wave packet happens to be moving faster than the velocity of light, if you stick your measuring instrument out in the path of this photon, what happens, a mirror or a window would interfere with that photon. You get a forward scattering, or an interference would take place. And what happens, you will actually annihilate or you extinguish the primary photon. And from that point on, you have created a secondary photon. So you killed the first primary photon. You measured, you have detected x1, but x2 you will fail to detect, and also the time t2 you will fail to detect. So it is therefore, it is physically impossible to measure the velocity or the wavelength of a primary photon without annihilating it. So this is for this reason, to this date, that the velocity of electromagnetic radiation has not been measured successfully. One has assumed that relativity claims that the velocity is constant in all frames of reference, which is not true. So we have not measured successfully the primary photon.
Okay, and when we take that back to the question, which is hypothetical or?
That is that use of hypothetical instead of theory.
Right.
So a theory, when we describe an experiment, we come up with a theoretical interpretation of that experiment and use hypothesis in order to help explain the method, the occurrence in nature, what took place in nature. That is, we use a hypothetical case.
I got it.
The only thing we do is we use a hypothetical case on it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm getting it.
So all the photons that are reflected off the surface are no longer the original?
That's right, that's right, that's right. So that photon coming off of the back of a window or coming from a mirror, it's not the same photon, it's a secondary photon. The primary photon is been absorbed by the mirror, and the mirror becomes a secondary source, producing a secondary photon. That's right.
So you're going to have to develop a whole new...
The whole universe is an illusion.
That's right.
Because all these photons are traveling through plasma.
That's right, exactly.